So, as I said in my last one, um, this one might be a little emotional because I'm probably gonna kind of go into what year I took this picture. Um, Around, and y'all remind me, my homie Titan just sent me something for like cloud stuff. He just sent me an amazing resume. I wish I could share it. I don't know if he wants me to share, but there's a program. There's something I was supposed to have done on this, and maybe I might do a program with him, man, on StreamYard. I might do a program with him where we could just get on here together and just go through it and show black folks what you can do with this thing. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to ask him one of these days. I think I need to be more inclusive. I'm using I'm used to doing this so much on my own, that I don't really interview people that much, and I think I need to start doing that too. You know what I'm saying? And you know, uh this picture was one of the few pictures that I took when I was working on an album called Welcome to the Woods. And remember, that was a big part of my life, music, not just hustling, but I love music and I love to write and I love to rap. You know what I'm saying? My main thing was just listening to beats. Sometimes I used to just listen to Titan stuff. Sometimes if I be down and out, or even if I'm not down and out, but I be down and out, like, this is the year. This is, my mom passed in November 2014. And I really didn't know how to grieve very well, you know. And a couple years ago, you know, um, someone had killed a close friend of mine, So even though there was somewhat of a gap, you know, and then right after that, after just a few years later, my great uncle had passed, and I was supposed to be on my way to come. I had my plane ticket booked, so I mean, I'm just not really knowing what to do with these losses that are coming kind of back to back. They're just, and I'm not really good with grieving and all that, and I don't like funerals, so I'm just trying to get, I'm actually, to be honest, I'm trying to get buried in the back of my head and just say, well, it's not bothering me or it's affecting me, and I'm not gonna show a ton of emotion behind it and all that kind of stuff, and that don't really work. So I said, if I just bury myself in my work, well, it'll just go away, and that's not how grief works. You see what I'm saying? But that's what I tried to do. I said, well, I just grind and harder, and work more and more, and just, then I could just bury all the feelings and whatnot. And like I say, as a way to help grieve a little bit, I figured, well, I'm going to maybe, my mom knew I love music and stuff. And she knew I love them old schools and all that kind of stuff. And, like, uh, it's crazy because, I probably wouldn't have let her hear my music or whatnot, although she had probably had an idea on the kind of stuff that I was, but my uncle used to bump it. You got to think, this is a Vietnam vet. This is somebody that he's older. He's kind of from that, you know, born in the 1930s. But, my uncle was in Sacramento passing out Welcome to the Woods. He was actually promoting my shit, listening to my shit, promoting my damn music. Because you got to think, my uncle was a ladies' man. So he didn't have a lot of judgment towards my lifestyle and the way I was. I kind of took after him a lot of time. I'll tell y'all a little story. Like, I went over my grandma's house. My uncle used to like visit once a year. He come from Sacramento. So I'm kind of giving y'all background of some of this, and that way I don't start this off as like a sob story, you know what I'm saying? Because nothing good kind of came after 2014 besides me just making a little more money. I was kind of in a blur and stuff like that. My patience was low. I kind of bounced around in different positions doing contract because I really couldn't deal with them race soldiers, man. I thought I was going to break somebody's damn neck. that was playing with me like that. And I just I didn't have the patience at all. And I know you can't do that. You can't really do that. That's not something you could just walk around doing, slapping people and shit like that. But people at work, they really have you fucked up. And they don't know what's going on or what happened to you, and they don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not really gonna tell them what's going, well, my uncle died and my mom died and everybody and this is gonna happen. Like, you know, um, when my homie passed, you know what I'm saying? I had to kind of go back to work to that and act like nothing happened. Because I'm sitting in my office. I have my own office, so that was good. And they're like, "Oh well," they were like, "Why are you looking like that?" I'm trying to hide it as much as I can. Man, I had a friend that passed. What happened to him? And I'm not about to get what happened to him. What was he into? And I'm not about to get into all that. We're not about to have that conversation. Just know that I had a loss. You know what I'm saying? And oh well, life goes on. I'm like, you mother, you know what I'm saying? That's how the work of, so that's, I don't even like talk, but when my mom passed, I needed some bereavement time kind of, but I'm a contractor at the time. So, like the project manager, and I'm supposed to be talking about the D-building analysis. Here I am going into my woes, but the project manager said, our parents go, Derek. We don't have bereavement time as contractors. He says, best thing you could do is get back to work. And when he said that, I was kind of like, I kind of felt some kind of way, but I snapped out of it real quick. And I was like, man, he's damn right. I don't want to sit up in my damn house. When I got the call when she passed that night, I kind of had an idea that she would go. What's crazy is a couple days before that, or like she was in the hospital or something was going on, and my homie just pulled up on me. I don't normally let people just pull up on me like that. Like I always watch my surroundings, but he had me because I'm still kind of in the days or whatever. This is before she passed. He's like, man, you ain't got long, bro. He pulled up right behind me by my grandma's house. He must have seen me in the neighborhood in Seward, and he pulled up right behind me. I didn't even know he was behind me. I was just kind of off, I think I was sitting in my marquee because I had this car right here. I had this 79 at the time. I'm quite sure I did because I bought it in 2012, I believe. But I was in my marquee, and he was like, man, you spend all the time you can, bro. You ain't got long. He told me that like the same week. It was like the same week or the week before. I was headed over to my grandma's house or something. He's like, man, you ain't got long, bro. Because he kind of knew in her condition what was to pass. He probably just didn't really want to tell me like, oh, bro, it's a wrap. But he probably just said, you ain't got a long time. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got forever. So I said, oh, I got a couple more months. No, you don't. So when I got the call, like we went to go visit her. And when I got the call, like you come to the hospital or whatever the case may be, she was on a tube. You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy is because just a week ago or just a few weeks ago, she had wanted to, because it was cold, she wanted some gloves. She wanted me to go and get some gloves. And I'm glad I went and I got it because that was the last time I seen her alive. I was the last time. It was like, it might have been that same week she passed. She wanted me to come get some gloves because she was staying in one of those houses where, one of them places where like almost like hospice, but like, for people that, because her leg was gone, they amputated. And so now we were in the room and I was just talking to her. I didn't stay a long time. And she just kept looking at me. And she had this smile. Like it was a little more than a smirk or whatever. And she stared at me for a while and told me, I love you or something like that. And that was the last conversation we had. A day or two later, she was on the life support. You see what I'm saying? So now, while I was at work, they're like, my grandma's like, I think y'all better come down. So I had left work that day, came down, we seen her on the life support or whatnot. And I'm still thinking, oh, she'll pull out of it. By the end of that night, I get the call. Hey man, she gone. I had a fifth of hen sitting there because I knew that I probably was gonna get some bad news, and I said I'm about to get lit. I go and uh I go and um once I got the call, I think my older brother called me and he said, "Hey man, she's gone." Or it was my mom, it was even my grandma, or I think it was my older brother. I think he called me. He's like, "Hey man, she's mom's gone, bro." And I said, "All right, we about to go to the hospital because I want to see her that last time." And he was like, "All right, yeah." So my younger brother, I think we all met at the hospital. I can't remember because it was such a blur. Sat back down, cracked open the hen, and poured a cup. And I sat there for a little bit, and I was like, well, you know, I was just kind of sitting there. And you know, I sat there for a second, and then I text Mike. I said, bro, she's gone. Now that's he he had did the same thing to me. I think his mom passed before, but before my mom, I think, or either after, or it might have been before. So I knew, it was the same text. It was creepy because it was the same text. I texted him like, man, she's gone, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I went to the hospital. I went to go. I'm trying to think. Did I go to the hospital? Did I go straight to the hospital or did I pick my brother? I can't remember what it was, but I remember going to my grandma's house. Um, I think I went to my grandma's house first, and that was like the longest walk up them steps. And I just told her I'm sorry and stuff. My brother was washing dishes. I remember everything. And I think then we went to the hospital. I think that's what it was. Or we went to the hospital and then came back. But I believe that at some point we went to the hospital and we sat in that room, and we were in that damn hospital for like 40 minutes. We just looking at her. And my grandma called like, hey, y'all gotta leave. You've been up there too long. Because she knew that if she didn't tell us to leave, then we probably would have stayed damn near all night. You see what I'm saying? And that wouldn't have been good. But you know, you she didn't want to see her. So now the first couple days, because the thing is, you never expect that. When you have a parent that you adore, you don't really expect that. So I said, well, I'm just gonna work, and I'm gonna work on my music like no other. So I started. I think when I went to Tony Williamette and I started recording, he was on 42nd and Nicollet. I think she might have still been alive when I was recording. Let me look and see what the first song, because I just want to get these dates right. Minnehaharecording.com. So was that 2015? Now I'm looking right here when Tony sent me an email, March 3rd, 2015. How you been? I see you've been doing some traveling. So I have been early 2014, no, early 2015, I have been to Boston. So I'm gonna get into that. That's gonna be my next story if I remember. He said, how's Welcome to the Woods coming? You get it duplicated, talk to you soon. So this is March 2015 when he sent me this email, right? Now, oh, is this still here? I might have to download this. I bet there's no way that this got to be expired. Let me see. This got to be expired. This is a WeTransfer. Let me see. Nah, this is a WeTransfer that I sent Titan. Or he sent me. Did he send me something? He must have sent it to me as something on October 16, 2016, Halloween, because that was another album. It was like a Halloween. I had Mike, man. I should have did something with that. But so this had to been, yeah. I think I started working on Welcome to the Woods Volume 1 around 2014 or something like that, maybe. And a lot of these songs, some of the songs are old, because I had like a G-funk sound that I want to kind of go with because it's different. And I said, okay, well, Minnesota, what is Minnesota culture? Not necessarily G-funk, but when you look at Morris Day and Prince, it's the funk. Our sound is a funk sound. Like I said that before. I said, what is the Minnesota sound? Mint Condition, Prince, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis, Morris Day, funk sound. And you know where the funk came from. That came from James Brown. So we ain't even got to ask that. That's who created hip hop. We ain't even got to go through all that. But anyway, this album, D Building, was supposed to go on the second album, Welcome to the Woods Volume 1. But Mike didn't individually track the sound. I think he made it on Fruity Loops or something like that. I don't know what happened, but he had just this one file. And I guess he didn't individually track them. He probably lost them. We lost a lot of music because, we weren't saving stuff right, or this stuff gets lost, or whatever the case may be. But I told him I'm using it anyway. I'm just gonna have Tony or somebody mix it down the best way they can. And this is what came out of it. D Building was the building. Oh, it's Monday he's leaving. Okay. All right. So D Building was, as you could see, D Building was the building that I lived in, D 1901. I was on the 19th floor. So it was a low-key floor. And like I say, I'd get my hustle on, and folks coming through and stuff like that. And I was doing, it was one of the more depressing state of minds that I was in, because I was drinking a lot. I wasn't really happy with where I was going. And then it was fun at the same time. So I was depressed and happy, up and down, up and down, up and down. Because when I first got my apartment, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm independent. But again, you're in a frozen state of independence. You're living somewhere that's not requiring you to be more accountable than you should. And what I mean by that is, these are the projects. The rent is almost nothing. So now, whatever little grinding you doing and you pocketing or whatever, or, even if at the time when I got this apartment, I wasn't working. So therefore, my rent was damn near nothing. So what are you doing in the next 6 months? What are you doing in the next year? What are you doing in the next 2 years? Before you know it, man, you 5 years in the hole and you're not moving anywhere. You're not doing anything for yourself. Because it's basically like Section 8 almost. So you're in a Section 8 mindset. Well, I'm independent. You're in a frozen state of independence. You're in a frozen state of independence. So yeah, it looks good on paper. I need like a little, let me see. Yeah, it looks real good on paper. It looks good on, I mean, not on paper, but it looks good for you to look up, for you to wake up and say, I don't really got to do too much better than what I'm doing, because I feel like I'm making enough. Uncle Sam may not be in my pocket. You dig? Uncle Sam may not be in my pocket. You see what I'm saying? That's how you thinking. But you're not doing no better until you get up out of there. Bottom line. It's not really a flex. You could tell yourself that your first 6 months. Well, I'm not paying market share. I'm not doing, hey, man, people wish they could live like me. It's not a flex. It's not helping you long run. because you might start developing a line. You might start developing a mind state. I can stay up in these concrete walls, and then I'm just comfortable just doing this, and now you pretty much just die out there. I've seen a lot of people in the buildings, a lot of people, you know, in these projects and in these that just, hey, I don't want no better. I'm stagnant, and I think I'm safe because I'm broken, I'm poor, and people will the world will show me mercy. The world will not. The world will not. And it's not protection because you're poor. It's not protection because you're not able to, just because you're less, or you feel like, well, I'm less and I'm poor, and I'm poor and I'm moral and is lowly, that I'm in a better position than somebody that actually can control their destiny a little bit more. That's the key. Well, the world's going to show me more mercy because I'm poor. No, it's not. You could be a victim even more, because now if these folks decide to say you're out, you got people that got money that are having problems with people trying to figure out a way to get their money or tax, whatever it is. People are complaining about this current administration about that. Well, it's not fair. It's not this. If you got $100 million, you're not that worried. You trying to figure out how to maintain it. If you got $10 million, you ain't that worried. You ain't worried about a $10 carton of eggs. You're not. And you probably got inherited that money. You didn't just wake up one day with a bright idea and it just worked. You really, and if you didn't inherit that money, you had to come up with some kind of way to turn $1 into 10,000. You didn't get 10 million on a wish, on a whim. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, growing up in this building, I got to the point where I said, okay, this got to be a pit stop. And I thought I stayed there longer when I actually didn't. I stayed there maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and that was enough for me. After my second year, or maybe after the first year, I started looking at these concrete walls like, man, this was an experiment. Like, I don't want to be here no more. And it's not like I traded for something 10 times better when I went to Lake Street, but now I'm on 5 floors. Not as much concrete. Maybe a little more room in the parking lot. Maybe a little bit of more freer thought. Okay, well, DP, you need to do something else now. You see what I'm saying? I start feeling locked in Cedar Riverside at some point in time. And I felt like I was surrounded by folks that didn't really want too much else. So I'm looking in the mirror like, okay, you need to do more. You need to do a lot more. You know, that's when I start to think. So when you look at this photo, you could kind of tell I didn't feel like I was bragging, but I felt like, okay, just a few years ago, I was in this building with no ride, no money. Well, I had money when I wanted it, like, when I made it. But what I'm saying is I didn't really have no, I wasn't doing, as you could see, this right here is when I had 2 rides. I was working, I didn't really want for much. I had enough to have 2 rides. I had enough to be able to paint the whip, do what I want to do. You see what I was wearing. I was fresh. You know what I'm saying? I was at a point of my career and at a point of my life where, I was doing much better. I was doing much, much better because at that point I had wanted more. So I had the ability to go to the studio, and I paid studio time to make my own album. I didn't go and get no little bullshit Pro Tools and get hooked up in the back garage. No disrespect to nobody. I wanted the real studio sound if I'm going to do this. So when you kind of look at my face, I look a little determined. That's a different expression on my face than I probably would have had if I showed you some pictures back when I was in D building. That's not the look of expression that I would have had. When I took that picture, I felt like, okay, I got this. So here's what we're going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get a good level, and we're going to go through the entire album, the entire song. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to go and break down each piece. And then I'm going to tell the story of exactly what happened with each piece. If I have to rewind it, I'll rewind it. So this might go longer than 25 minutes. Or no, not 25 minutes. This might be about an hour show. This might be an hour broadcast. Because like I say, at this point, when I took that picture was, let me see something real quick. When did Welcome to the Woods actually get released? Well, on Bandcamp, it looks like I released it. It looks like I released it in October of 2015. Now, keep in mind, let me see. It looks like I released it in October of 2015. Because undergroundhiphopblog.com, they released it. This was some reviews that I was getting. And this is over in, and I put the faction because I had an idea of, people like my homie Stack Doe and Mike. We were gonna, do other albums and stuff. So that's, I started paying for my own promotions. I did all I really could. I'm surprised this is still, can you still buy this? Okay, it was on Amazon. So, at a certain point, I don't know. That's something. I don't know who it is. Oh, that's another Welcome to the Woods. That's somebody. I guess they had, That's another Welcome to the Woods. Yeah, that's not me. That's somebody else. Volume 1. So, yeah. This was not Volume 1. This was gonna be on like Volume 2. This was like a one-off song. You know what I'm saying? And I was give you a little background on this. Mike had this beat, and I said, man, I gotta have this, bro. I gotta have this beat. And he was like, man, it ain't multi-track. At one point, he had a multi-track, but I wasn't mad at him and shit. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna try to get it mixed and mastered the best way I can. I said, because this got to go on something. And when I actually, and it ain't no chorus. I was just talking. I was just talking shit. I was just going off all the things that occurred and it happened and whatnot. And I played it for him, and he was like, man, bro, like you took me back. You know what I'm saying? So I pretty much talked about pretty much everything. So all of these stories that I was telling y'all about things that was going on is all going to be on this song. And then I'm going to break down every piece of the song. So let me go ahead and play it. Let me get some good sound here. So I'm going to turn it all the way up. I'm going to try to lower my mic. True story, y'all. Shit's reputable. Can be verified. Rocky Rock, Hoko, and rap, nigga. D building, raggedy apartment to see the riverside, fit for him to see each day. Man, they shit ain't right. Bought a dude from Q with some smack DVDs. He ain't needed no more. As he moved up the trees, gave earned a down payment on the used NPC, brought it to Titan. Got it on the 1913 for Queen. She gon' let my ass rot if she ever catch me gang banging. We ain't bailing your ass out. Take that for maintaining. Watching America take countries lift the same sanction. Got tired of being in the seat, so I started slinging small bags of weed, CDs and tall tees. Bought a Pavita Dodge Spirit, loaded the trunk up with these desktops from Indiana, 500 out the slammer. Made my bread off the car the next week. Mamma Jamma, mom stereo system. These white folks would love to see you with a long record, all up in prison. See, used to say Earth with fire and Marvin Gaye. Body riders my bedroom while fam was chopping up the gate, watching my homie laces. Uh-oh.
Red shoestrings to school today with the new silk chocolate cover. Charged it to the game, that was 98. I used to get bullied in school. Pop said you get your ass whipped, you get suspended from school. No black kids in mandatory classes, that was bending the rules. Next time I get tucked, there's gonna be issues in school. 10th grade, I'm ready for head up phase. Pop left me and LT got suspended for knocking books off the shelf. Got sent to Iowa. Since I can't control myself, dumbass teen class. And never teaches about no wealth. I thought I got the day, y'all. I was working in the warehouse. Pops worked me for 16 hours, then he dropped me off. Keep the enemy close. I gotta get some distance, and they make up stories when they don't handle their business. No circumstance should grown men act like your bitches. Either you come to terms or don't leave me as a witness. This El Rooker nigga said you got a cold hustle, dropping movies off of East St. Paul by the bundle. Told me never to sell dope. You can still ride spokes, chop a couple blades without chopping no rocks though. This girl got popped on Portland with walking the block though. The bloods and the stones having issues, so stay home. Late night on 38th, almost got my face blown. Approach me down the block, why you got the wrong color? Relative, who you know around here, and why your shirt blue? Shit is roll around here. You gotta plug them with somebody when you come around here. I ain't affiliated. I know some hoes around here. Reluctantly, they let me pass. I should have known better. I was Warren Sterling before I put on that sweater. Old man asked me, how do you survive as a black man in the city? Your gangs, racism, odd stack. Damn. I calmly responded, mama ain't raised a fool. When they asked me to join, I respectfully refused. Mama said it's genocide and she would not approve. The mind we possess can be a weapon or a tool. Watch my homie chopper blades. I wanted to make some moves, broke down the cutie on late. Down bags, get it moving, pushing crystal ain't cut it. And I need a new hustle, start the IT program. It was a struggle, gas over beef, buddy. Contracting this, nothing free, motherfucker. I'ma have me something.
How come you ain't claiming your neighborhood no more? They're in a joint for killing somebody from another block. A piece of concrete didn't even belong to them. They claimed their neighborhood. It was there before they were born. It's going to be there when they die.
Man, please. I said the Rocky Rococo or rap. That's what I made. I made like a little logo. It was a DP the Groundhog logo. And like, you know, Rocky Rococo was a top-notch. Rocky Rococo, man, was a top-notch pizza spot here in Minneapolis. Everybody knows what that is. And I'm sweating. Hold on. Sweating bad. Rocky Rococo, man. I never consider myself like a top-notch rapper or whatever. But it wasn't. Hey, I'm gonna be honest. It wasn't too many niggas from Minneapolis that could rap like that. I was just getting started. It wasn't something that I had been going to the studio for years and years. I mean, actually try to put something real out. You see what I'm saying? Like I always wrote rhymes and we were going to the studio, but we was kind of bullshitting back then. We used to go like to over north over there, like, you know, a lot of times when I used to be in there with Rolling, Dial and all that, half time I was getting drunk. They was serious. They was in there like charging niggas and shit, but we was in there kind of bullshitting around. Like here, you could hear it right there. I wasn't messing around. I wasn't messing around. The way I was composing that cadence and the way how I was, you know, and the whole story, it was a whole 5-minute story. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run it back and I'm gonna break down each piece and I'm gonna rewind it and explain to y'all exactly what I was saying, what was going on. So what the story was about. And I'm trying not to, you know, like when I do these stories, I try not to put specifics in there as far as what happened to people, their name, for, you know, if they was involved into something that could get them in trouble or whatever like that. Any of the stuff that I talked about has been well publicized, documented, and confirmed. And so I'm not really telling no secrets. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just saying from my point of view on how it looked. You see what I'm saying? With a lot of things that I might have actually personally seen. So I'm kind of giving a bird's eye view of from my perspective of what was going on. So the first thing I talked about was it's reputable. It could be verified. All of it. There's not one lie in here. Not one. There's nobody in this state that could say that I wasn't telling the truth on every single line. All of them. And I'm going to break it down as to what I was talking about. So look.
True story, y'all. She's repping.
All right, I'm going to try to.
Rocky Rock, Coco, rap, nigga. D building, raggedy apartment in Cedar Riverside, 50.
So D building, raggedy apartment in Cedar Riverside. I was in D building at the time. So let me get my face up. Okay.
Hennessy each day, man, that shit ain't right.
A fifth of Hennessy each day, man, this shit ain't right. Like I was pretty much like a little mini alcoholic for a long period of time. And you know what was crazy is one day I got lit. I don't know why, but I picked up the Bible and I read a bunch of chapters in Revelation. And I don't know why, but I don't know. I must have got shook or something. I just got myself together. I just stopped drinking. And that's when I started getting myself like together, like seriously getting myself together on what I needed to do. So now.
The from Q with some smack DVDs. He ain't needed no more as he moved up the trees.
So I bought a CD duplicator. I bought a CD duplicator from one of my homies, and he didn't need it no more. You see what I'm saying? I bought it from him because, you know, he's moving on up, like, you know. So I bought it from him, but I really bought it from Earn. Earn sold me my first MPC, and then my homie Q sold me the duplicate. Did I buy it from Earn or two? I bought the MPC from Earn, and I think I bought the dupe from him too. It was CD duplicator, but I might have bought it from Q. I can't remember. One of the two I bought it, and to me, I felt like a gold mine because it saves time. I could make all my mixtapes really, really fast. That put me in the game. That put me in the game really.
Earned a down payment on the used MPC, brought it to Titan, got it on the 1913 for Queens.
So I bought a used MPC from Earn, and then I went to 13 for Queens. This is 13 for Queens. I just want to show y'all the picture. I try to make like a little janky video. That's why when I showed Titan, he was like, man, that song almost brought me to tears, bro, because he remembers everything. The stuff I'm telling y'all right now, yeah, he would know, and other people would know. There's certain stories that I tell y'all where they remember, you know, what we were doing and how it was and all of the stuff that was going on and stuff like that. And like I say, it wasn't all bad and everything. This is just what was going on. I'm just telling it how I was living it. That's all. And telling it from my perspective. I used to bring the MPC to his house. Sometimes it got to a point where I just leave it there, because I wasn't using it that much, and I just let him kind of have it. And I think I wanted it back. There was one time, just once I got mad at Mike. There was only one. The only time I got mad at Mike was one time. He broke the knob on my MPC. And my homies all know that when I borrow you something, I like it back the way I got it. Especially like my CDs. I used to be crazy about my CDs. Don't put no scratches on my CDs, bro. Go to Electric Feeders, buy me a new one, man. I don't even want that shit no more. I was meticulous about it. They're like, well, it's gonna get scratched anyway. But that ain't the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like scratch. I had this thing about keeping books and CDs in tip-top condition. Because what I would do is, once I get a CD, I don't touch it no more. There was a thing amongst some guys I used to, one of my homies I used to ride with and stuff. You damn near got to cuff CDs. Like they used to steal each other's CDs. Like when they get outside the car, like if they smoking or something, they ha or whatever, and they ain't paying no mind. If you don't watch them, they be done stole your Guerrilla Warfare Hot Boys or something like that. They'll give it back. But the CDs cracked and all this, and I had a rule with my homies: you can't borrow my CDs. I would let Titan borrow my CDs, and I would let my homie Odsboo borrow my CDs. I wouldn't let my other homies borrow my CDs. They didn't know that, and I would tell them that. I love you. We ain't borrowing shit because I know you gonna bring my CD back with scratches on it. Because see, I would get the CD and download it as an MP3 and put it back in the box and sit it right there. I had all my stuff. You can ask my guys. I had every CD alphabetical order, A to B. 3 6 Mafia wasn't in the first. That went into the T's. Nas, that goes before 3 6 Mafia. Like I had my stuff, all my CDs alphabetized. But they all on my computer. So I ain't got no reason really to take them out the box no more. They all on the computer. You see what I'm saying? So like that was a thing that we used to do. We would buy, hey man, let me use that or whatever. Like you like, man, nah, bro, you ain't bring that shit back, man. And then another thing with dudes would do, because I wasn't driving, but I remember like some of the guys I knew that had cars amongst each other, they had this little rivalry where, and you would hear little grumblings behind each other's back sometimes, like, man, dude, man, fam be bringing my shit all scratched up and everything, man. Don't let that nigga borrow your shit. Niggas would be hot about that shit. Like damn near about ready to fight because you would borrow your homie a CD and then the CD don't come back and you get into a car, your other homie's house, and you're like, where you get this from, fam? And they got the same crack. That's how you would know they took your CD because it had the same little, like somebody cracked it or they were breaking down weed with it or whatever. And you like, okay, that's my CD case, nigga. I didn't borrow that to you. I borrowed that to fam. Well, man, he just let me borrow. Nigga, how you gonna borrow my shit to somebody else? He didn't give it back to me. He borrowed it to the other homie. So when you asking for your CD back now, he's like, well, man, yeah, I borrowed it to Sam. I didn't borrow it to Sam, nigga. I don't mind. I would give it to Sam, but I borrowed it to you. You go get it back from Sam. Man, Sam got it now. So now you done got 4-5 niggas, man, that got your damn CD. I said, okay, no, we ain't doing that, nigga. I'm gonna burn you one. That's probably how some certain stuff happened. Like I had a CD and somebody was like, because when I had a CD burner, I just wanted a CD burner just to have a CD burner because it was cool to have. Nobody really had them. Nobody had a CD burner in my neighborhood. I just wanted one. And then, I start borrowing out CDs and niggas don't give them back. And I'm like, oh, hell no, nigga, I'm going to burn you a copy. Then they like, oh, man, this nigga burning CDs. Then now it's like, oh, man, you got Napster? What's that? Oh, man, just download it. You get all kind of free shit. I'm like, free CDs? What? Okay. All right, I downloaded it. And I'm like, all right, what is this supposed to do? Oh, man, just click on that. Type in Jay-Z. I'm like, all this shit for free? I'm like, this shit can't be real. This can't be real. We thought it was for free. We thought it was for free until we heard the news talking about, well, the RIAA says you can't download it. Copyright. What? I'm like, it's for free. You could download it. It's right there. Like, why are we, because I didn't understand the MP3 thing right away. I'm like, well, this is an MP3. What is this? How do you, because I knew about WAV files, but MP3, how do you, so I got to convert this to a WAV file and then I got to burn it and all that. Oh man, it's a lot. Can I get, so that's how this MP3, that's how this burning when people, well, man, let me come over your house and make a CD. All right, bro. Then before you know it, now folks are showing up at my house. Hey man, let me make a CD. Man, I'm about to start charging you niggas, man. I'm about to start charging you niggas, man, because y'all keep coming over here wanting to make CDs. And that's how it started. But like a damn accident. Download Napster. I'm like, why you want me to download this? What is this? Man, you can get free CDs. I said, ain't nobody giving no damn free CD. I never believed it. I didn't believe it at first. Now I'm thinking, my wheels are thinking, I didn't think that you could really do this. Free CDs, nigga. I paid $15 a CD. Ain't no free CD. I didn't believe it until my homie said, "Man, go to Napster.com and download the app. Install it. It's an install shield file." Man, I downloaded that shit. Hey, type in psychodrama magic, Joe. I typed that shit in. I'm ready to get my pimp on. Slide up in the DoubleTree. Everything's look good. What? Oh, hell no. I'm about to type in 8-ball loss, double disc, psychodrama. I said, man, these niggas can rap. Yo. Oh, hell, I'm going to make me a mixtape. I'm going to sell this to all them Chicago niggas. All them Chicago gangbanging ass niggas going to like this shit. Man, Joe, I need that Chicago. I need that Psycho Drama, Triple Darkness. Yeah. Yep. $5. Straight up. $5. I couldn't believe this shit. I said, man, this shit really fucking free? I said, this shit can't be free. I thought I was gonna get a virus or something. I said, there's no way that you could download free music. We like 16 years old. We're like, there's no way you could download free music. So, you know, but yeah, we get, you know, I'm getting to the weeds now. So this is gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while. All right, so now look.
Gonna let my ass rot. If she ever catch me gang banging, we ain't bailing your ass out. Take that for maintaining.
So basically, my mom kind of told me, if you get involved in any kind of criminal shit or gang activity, we ain't got no money to bail you out. We just gonna let you rot. We not bailing you out. We ain't putting no house up. Your grandma ain't putting your house up. None of that. If you get involved in any of that kind of stuff, because she's watching the news and seeing the niggas do shit and all that, and she's like, man, this shit genocide and all that. And she just kind of told me, she just looked over and said, yeah, when you get involved in any of that, you ain't getting out. If you get involved in any of that, I'm not gonna bail you out. She never said, well, I'd be disappointed in you. She ain't say none of that. She just said, you're not going, yeah, you ain't getting out. You was going to stay in the county jail if you do anything. So I kind of knew anything I get involved in. Yeah, I didn't have those. She wasn't that kind of parent. Well, you know, we got to get him out. Now, you know how parents are. Once you get in something, they be they talk a different tune because they don't want to see their baby in the county or whatever. But if you ever get the notion that you want to get involved in this kind of activity, she was just kind of letting me know that, nah, we ain't bailing you out. But I knew that because we didn't really have no money anyway. So if I did get in some kind of trouble, ain't nobody bailing me out anyway. So, you know, but that's what she told me.
Your ass out. Take that for maintaining. Watching America take countries lift the same sanctions.
I said, watching America take countries lift the same sanctions. So basically, you know, the land of the free, home of the slave. Well, justice, peace for all, blah, 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 blah. And then they go around and, you know, Operation Desert Storm and all that. We want to control your shit. You got minerals, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I'm spitting a little political science up in there too. You see what I'm saying? So I had a little consciousness in there to throw that in there. And now it's back to the nigga shit.
And watching America take countries lift the same sanction. Got tired of being in the seat, so I started slinging.
I got tired of being in the passenger seat of my homie's car. So, you know, I start kind of dibbling and dabbling a little bit.
Bags of weed, CDs, and tall tees. Bought up a beat of Dodge Spirit, loaded the trunk up with these.
So I said, small bags of weed, t-shirts and tall tees, you know, bought a beat up Dodge Spirit, loaded the trunk up with these. And you know how I said loaded the trunk up with these. I kind of wasn't like rapping double time, but I was adding my, I call it indenting. I was indenting my phrases. So whatever don't fit right with the beat, I kind of came in and increased the speed on top of another word to make it fit. So it didn't really sound like I was out of breath, but I kind of was a little bit. I did pretty good because this is 5 minutes. This is 4 minutes straight. This is 3 minutes of no chorus. I'm just going off. You see what I'm saying? And I didn't really punch in except for them times where I did it on purpose to make it sound like because remember when Beanie Siegel in them state property, when Siegel used to come in, he'll say something like Jets versus Pistons, and then he'll punch in right after it on purpose and layer on top of that lyric to make it sound like it's just coming in just like that. That was on purpose. But everything else that I was all them other lyrics, those weren't punch ins. I'm just going bar for bar. I'm just trying to do like Big Pun. I'm trying to do some breath control. So I said, loaded up the Dodge Spirit, loaded the trunk up with these.
Sanction, got tired of being in the seat, so I started slinging small bags of weed, CDs, and tall tees. Bought up a beat of Dodge Spirit, loaded the trunk up with these. Desktops from Indiana, 500 out the slammer, made my bread up the.
So right here, I'm saying, loaded the trunk up with these. Desktops from Indiana, 500 out to Slammer. Desktops from Indiana, from Hammond, I think it was Hammond, Indiana, or South Bend, Indiana. That's when I sold my first desktop to Big Rob when I was working at the nonprofit. Man, I was reselling desktops. I buy one for $225 and I sell it $500. So I'm saying 500 out to Slammer. So that's a double up for me. You see what I'm saying? So keep in mind, I sell one of them joints and then I go buy, and it was free shipping. It was, keep in mind, it was free shipping. So I had this meticulously planned out. So now I'm not, when I used to have my mixtapes, remember, I might get 100 pack for $20. And then I'm doing 3 for 10 on mixtapes, 6 for 20. Sometimes I get somebody 7 for 20. I could actually lose 40, 50 CDs and still turn a profit without no issue. None at all. You see what I'm saying? So, like I say, folks used to be, man, these niggas with backpacks, they corny as hell. Man, we was making some money, man. Let me tell you, we was getting it. And there was folks that was doing 10 times better than us. We wasn't greedy. We were like, hey, we just gonna live. But so now, let me keep going, because this is going to take a good half hour to break all this down, because I'm going to be going back and forth. So now,
The car the next week, Mamma Jamma, mom stereo system. These white made my bread off the car the next week. Mamma Jamma, mom
made my bread off the car the next week. Mamma Jamma. Then I said mom stereo system. So mom used to play Mamma, you know, Stevie Wonder, Earth, Wind and Fire, and all of that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? All that music, James Brown. I remember hearing all of that. Miles Davis. I made my money off that car. Soon as I got that car, I paid what I say. I paid a rack when New York brought me on Craigslist. He brought me to that location out there, and I think it was Golden Valley or somewhere. I bought that Dodge Spirit. I made my money off that car the next week. Immediately, I made my money right back. I didn't hesitate, because remember, I was hopping on the cold ass bus doing PC repair and hustling and doing all that, man. I'm telling you, man, my life was good in 2007, 2008. My life was superb. Yeah, I lost my dad. I was going through some other little trials and tribulations and stuff, and eventually we closed the shop and stuff like that. But man, the train did not stop. I'm telling you, life was good. And like, I'm about to send this to Jay when I'm done with this. When I'm done with this one, edit this one. This might be the first one I edit, because I want to upload this ASAP. This is like a key reminder on what we were doing around that time. And it was, like I said, we were having fun, man. We were having fun. It you know, there was things going on, but man, we was having fun, man. It was pretty good in 07, 08, man. I ain't gonna lie. It was pretty good. I didn't have tons and tons of worry. We weren't millionaires or nothing like that, but man, we really didn't starve like that. We were super, super damn blessed, man. We were super blessed, as far as I'm concerned. So okay, let's keep going.
stereo system. These white folks would love to see you with a long record, all up in prison. She used to say,
these white folks would like to see you with a long record, all up in prison. She used to say, Earth, Wind, Fire, and Marvin Gaye. Watching my writing my rhymes while watching my homie chopping up the gay. I'm kind of going ahead. She used to let us know, these folks want to see you locked up. They ain't changed. So she had a strong idea on how race soldiers operate, and she used to tell us that when we was kids. Don't be naive. You know what I'm saying? You treat everybody with respect, but don't be naive. You see what I'm saying? White supremacy, she had a keen sense on racism, white supremacy, and she was not hesitant to let you know, hey, this shit is still alive and popping. Don't think just because Barack's punk ass done got in that, yeah, shit changed. No. You know what I'm saying? She was adamant about that. She let us know about that then before. But some people would say, well, you know, but that's just telling your children to be. Man, look, we're black folks. We are foundational freedmen of America. We are the freedmen of America. We're the descendants of slaves. Things operate different for us. Our perspective of this culture and the layer and the fabric of America is different than the average person. So our perspective is a lot different. It's nowhere remotely close to anybody else. So when you're talking to somebody about stuff like this and they try to play, what they usually will do is they'll try to act like they don't understand. And what they'll do is they'll do a lot of dog whistles and playing dumb. They do that a lot. That's a covert mechanism to play dumb. But you know, our experience is different. That's why I said this is from the black experiments. This ain't for the Sambo experience. I don't even want none of y'all here to the Sambos. Anybody listen to this, the Sambo, your job is to listen to this and report back. You know what I'm saying? You like Bayard Rustin. You know what I'm saying? You that's your job. But everybody else, man, please, y'all can enjoy this. So, you know, that was her perspective of telling me as a young black man, like, yeah, RWS is here to stay. So you need to be keen on how you deal with things and deal with the law. And like she said, once you get into that system, it's a wrap. They got you. You're legally property of the state of Minnesota and the state of the United States. You're already a nigga. You know what I'm saying? So if you start getting yourselves in this gang shit and this and whatever you the thing, that's why a lot of times, even when I used to burn my CDs and leave, my mom used to be like, you know, I'm praying for you. I hope you careful. And I'd be like, Mom, I'm just going to hustle or whatever. But little did I know, you got a nigga talking about, man, you selling me blanks. I'm about to catch you and do this and do that. You see, you see what I'm saying? Little did I know that you could get into a situation by dealing with some goofy Negro. You know what I'm saying? Because he may not be as knowledgeable or as patient as you are for being able to do what I call conflict resolution. When you look at a lot of situations where brothers and sisters get into it with each other and all this little goofy shit on the internet and arguing or whatever, it all stems down to what? Conflict resolution. Well, he said this and she said that and blah blah blah. And it comes down to conflict resolution, right? Most of the time when you really get down to the situation, it's not that serious. Like I told y'all before in my digital journal that most of these erders and these unalivings are from hood rats. Most of them. Remember, well, I won't. Well, I'll get that to another time. I'll leave that alone. But a lot of that stuff be over there, and they're not really trying to jump the broom with these broads. We're not talking about no top tier Felicia Rashad, Dr. Huxtable. You know what I'm saying? We're not talking. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about no Dr. Huxtables. We talking about some Cardi B, Megan. You know what I'm saying? We talking about not the real Cardi B that got the bag, not the sexy reds that actually got the bag. We talking about the sexy red Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion rejects. We talking about those, the ones you see on Hennepin going out to the club that popping perks and got tattoos all up the yin yang, got 4-5 bodies from Planned Parenthood. Man, let me stop. Let me go on. That's what they dying over. That's what they dying over in Ramsey County. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, but anyway. Okay, yeah. I'm getting, okay, all right.
Earth with fire and Marvin Gaye riders my bedroom while fam was chopping up the gate, watching my homie laces red shoestrings to school today with the new silk shocker cover, charged it to the game. That was 98. I used to get
okay, this is pivotal. All right, now
cover, charged it to the game. That was 98.
And I had him mute that. I had the engineer mute that. That was 98. So now we getting into the bread and butter. So now we 1 minute in.
Chopping up the gate, watching my homie laces red shoe and Marvin Gaye riders my bedroom while fam was chopping up the gate, watching.
So now I was writing rhymes in my homie's bedroom, and that was the first time that I seen Ye getting chopped up, and like he used to say, it makes your fingers numb if you don't got no. He didn't have no gloves, but it makes your fingers numb, and I was writing rhymes. And he was sitting over in the corner chopping Ye's up in his room. You know what I'm saying? Writing rhymes while my homies chopping up the gay. And
My homie laces red shoestrings in school today.
then I talked about my homie with his red shoestrings. Now, I want to say who it is. If he's listening now, he knows who it is, and y'all still don't know who he is if I say his name. So I'm not his government. I'm not gonna say it, but you know, I make reference to him a lot. He knows who it is. I'm not gonna say that because and I don't think he really cares because that's just a name I gave him. You know, I gave him that nickname, so y'all ain't really gonna know who that is. So when I actually do the story, I'm gonna bleep out his face and stuff like that. But I'm still not gonna give you the name because I don't want to end up I don't want to end up like loose cannon. I don't want to end up like, you know what I'm saying? But no. You know, he wasn't doing nothing, man. We was in school. He had red shoestrings. So you kind of know where he was coming from and what, you know, but he didn't used to really be in school like, man, this is on the B, and he wasn't doing no whack 100. He wasn't every 5 minutes just doing, you know what I'm saying? Just letting everybody know. People knew what it was. He was one of the few and many real stand-up guy, one of the very few many, you know, in my school that was from that cloth. And you would have really never known that's what he was pushing because it was never something that unless of course you said something out of pocket like you this that and the third, and I don't like the, you know, you really couldn't tell because he was on some gangster shit. He didn't feel the need to, man, I'm this that and the third, and you better. He didn't feel the need to intimidate nobody or bully nobody or whatever like that. He just that's just how he was, and the nigga was cool as hell. But now if you get on his bad side, I mean, you in for a long day. You in for a long day. I'm telling you. You in for a long day. It might be 2 days. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's just how he was. But I remember he, you know, like I say, when I first, now if y'all happen to go back to my stuff and remember, then you might catch little clues. But you know, he you know, that, you know, when I first met him, when I first seen him and I seen the shoestrings, I was like, okay, it's kind of boys in the hood vibe going on here, you know. So but I remember we had a little argument in class or in school on the first floor about statues. I was talking about the Roots album, and I think that came out in '98. And I was just talking about some, you know, some hip hop shit. And he pulled out Silk the Shocker, and you know, Silk the Shocker had the credit card like this, and I'm like, man, that nigga way rapping off beat. He's rapping hella off beat. So, you know, this was the No Limit days, and I like some of them albums, but, you know, I was like, Silk the Shocker ain't it, bro. That nigga can't rap. That nigga can't rap, bro. So he pulled out the CD. He had the CD, and he held it out like with the credit card, like kind of mocking it a little bit, like, man, this shit bumping, bro. I said, oh, hell no. So I started talking about Roots, and I said, man, you can't compare Silk the Shocker to Black Thought, nigga. And he's like, pots and pans. So we get into like a mini little hip hop argument over Master Pete, No Limit Records versus Roots. And I think it was Pharaoh Monch. Well, Pharaoh Monch came out in '99, but we kind of was going. I was bringing up certain records. Now Mobb Deep was out, Nas, so he was like, yeah, they go hard. But I guess when Questlove was on the drums, he was kind of making fun of it, like, oh, he's beating on pots and pans and stuff like that. He's beating on pots and pans. So I said, man, bro, you better get this offbeat, nigga. This nigga sound like his syncopation was just like the MIDI keyboard just didn't connect. So I'm roasting Silk the Shocker, and he's getting on the Roots. So we get into like a little friendly banter and stuff. And that's one of the reasons, like, I didn't know him that well, but that's we somehow we start talking about music, and that's how we kind of got cool. We kind of was roasting each other's artists. And he had the red shoestrings, and he had the juicy ass Soul Glow Jerry curl, but it was kind of low. It wasn't like the long Ice Cube one, but it was low. So, but I didn't know him enough really like that to try to roast him. I didn't know him like that. So I didn't really get on the Jerry curl. Man, that's way too old, bro. Like you, yeah, that's he was taking an old like an old back to Boys in the Hood. When I seen it, I was just like, so that was my homie when I was referencing the red shoestrings. That's something that I remember at South. You know what I'm saying? So now I go on to the next thing. Okay.
Red shoestrings in school today with the new silk shocker cover. Charged into the game, that was 98. I used to get bullied in school. Pop said you get your ass whipped, you get suspended from school. No black kids.
Now remember what I said in my last thing. I said that was 98. I used to get bullied in school. 9th grade, my dad wouldn't allow me to fight back. And remember, I talked about that in one of my other little story times. He wasn't letting me fight back. He was pretty much like, you know. So when he left, I said, "Oh, it's cracking now. It's cracking now. If I get suspended, I know mom's gonna back me because she knows I didn't start it."
Classes that was bending the rules. Next time I get tucked, there's gonna be issues in school. 10th grade, I'm ready for head up phase. Pops left me and LT got suspended for knocking books off the shelf.
Now, me and my homie, I had a homie named LT. We named, you know, call him Big LT. He was a little bigger than us, and I was always small. So we were in like, it was a drafting architectural class or something like that, and we get the wrestling. He said he gonna hem me up or something like that, and you know I ain't backing down from nothing. So he must have grabbed me and put me in a headlock, and we were cool. So it wasn't a fight. Now, yeah, it wasn't a fight. It wasn't a fight at all. It was just, you know, we was just, you know, get on some boy shit. You know what I'm saying? We seeing who can, you know. So he was bigger than me. He was stronger than me. His arms were longer than me. But I was just kind of letting him know, like, this ain't gonna be no walk in the park. So we're pretty much kind of like standing on our manhood and stuff. And we get wrestling in class. It was a boring ass class. We didn't like it. We didn't like the teacher. So we just decided, man, we just gonna start wrestling. So we're knocking books. There was a shelf. When I say we're knocking books off the shelf, there was books and architecture books and engineering books and papers, and you know, we slamming each other. I mean, we really wrestling for real in this class, and we knocking stuff off the shelf. And other students are just looking and laughing because they're like, man, these niggas is crazy. They must thought it was a real fight. There was not a punch thrown. And they suspended me. And so my mom said, okay, you want to act a fool in school? Because she did ask me what it was about. And I basically told her. My dad was out the house by that time. But I told her, I said, Mom, I guess we was just wrestling. And she said, okay. You know, if you wasn't defending yourself, you ain't had no business doing that. So she said, okay, since you can't control yourself, I'm sending you to Iowa. So my dad, he had some trip planned where he was going to go get some semi trucks and drive them down to Iowa and buy all kinds of stuff at a warehouse to do something. Another one of his little business scams or something he was up to. So she basically said, all right, because see, I thought I was just going to go home and watch Jerry Springer and eat snacks. No. No, I thought that's what I was going. I thought I had the day off. My homie was terrified. Because his mom wasn't playing. Yeah, his mom was from Chicago too. She wasn't playing. He was like, man, my mom gonna find out. Like his mom was gonna cuss him out and she was gonna snap. But I knew my mom wasn't gonna cuss me out. She was just gonna say, well, you just got a day off in school. And I was like, my mom wasn't having it. She was like, yeah, I'm sending you out of town. So my dad comes and picks me up. I didn't get no sleep for the next 48 hours or something like that. We just drove down to Waterloo or Iowa or whatever. He got me working in a warehouse and lifting boxes and all this. And I said, man, shit, I would have much rather did something else. You know, so I regretted that. But that's what she said. I'm sending you with your dad. So she just sent me with him for about 48 hours. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when I went to like a thrift store in Iowa and I had my tape deck. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, this was 98, 99 or something like that. And I bought Eric B. and Rakim. And I bought like another tape at the thrift store in Iowa. You know what I'm saying? And we kind of had this, it was weird because me and my dad didn't talk. And now I'm getting older. So like, we don't really have a whole lot that we could really talk about. He's just kind of driving. And it's just a silent ass, awkward ass conversation because he kind of feels a little weird because he's like, well, damn, I done left my kids, or I didn't really, when my mom pretty much said it was over, it's not like he picked us up and sat us down and told us. Nobody ever talked about it. Nobody ever said, well, this is what happened and this, that, and the third. I guess because they were old school, they didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? They didn't talk about what happened or why. There was no mention of divorce. There was no. I'm just like, okay, he's gone. Now I could knuckle up and give niggas the Mayweather at school. But what happened? They never said anything. She never said anything about, she never said nothing about it. And he never said nothing. Like there was like a mafia old murder, code of old murder, you know what I'm saying? Code of conduct or something like that. And I said, well, okay, ain't nobody saying nothing. So he probably like, well, damn, I kind of abandoned my kids. So maybe that could have been the thing. I had to ask my grandma about that because that was crazy. But I didn't really think about it. I just knew that I could give that, I'm good with that left. Yeah, we get with that left. I'm telling you, when I came back to South in 10th grade, you seen that face. I said, yeah, we get it up. And that's when, like I say, around, it was like 10 or that was 11. When I get that Somali crip, gave him them haymakers on Cedar Avenue. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that was happening on the regular. Whenever I noticed since the 10th grade, when I start getting into scuffles, I didn't lose not one fight. Because I think a lot of folks underestimated me because he's this little small, little short, light-skinned kid. But they probably thought that maybe I might run away or try to go get a gun or whatever. Oh no, we gonna get it up. Like if I knew that it was clear and present danger when we had to fight, it wasn't like a small man's complex, but more of a defense complex. So in my mind, I figured like, well, if I felt like I was threatened in a way, especially because I never really started nothing. I never ever started anything. It was all a finish. So if I felt like I was afflicted, I would ask somebody for the fade. Do you want to step outside or do you want to get them up? And 97% of the time, I used to always get a no. So that used to really kind of piss me off because it might have been somebody that's running off at the mouth or trying to do something or threaten me. And I would kind of be like, damn, like I expected more because some of these niggas were supposed to be gangsters. Some of them were supposed to be gang members. That's what really disappointed me. Some of these was gang banging niggas. And I'm like, okay, let's catch a fair one. Oh man, I don't fight, I shoot. I said, what? I said, you a gang member. I said, man, you supposed to be violent. You supposed to be violent. You supposed to be a gang banging ass nigga. You gonna let a computer nerd, you gonna turn down a fade on a computer nerd, man? That used to piss me off. That used to piss me off. I used to be so mad, like, damn, because I held the gang member at a high regard of violence. Like I thought them niggas was really violent. That all y'all could do is shoot. I was disappointed in a lot of dudes in my school and out and about in neighborhoods and stuff. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, damn, man, I thought these niggas was real. I thought they was like real killers, like real, you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, all they could do is shoot. And I used to wonder, like, damn, bro, what you gonna do when you get in jail? Man, I ain't gonna get caught. All right, well, you just like to shoot, man. I'm gonna leave you alone. Cause I wasn't a shooter. That's why I said in that last thing is when that dude had threatened me and stuff like that. And my homie's like, well, I got a hauled off somewhere. I said, well, he ain't going to fight me. You know what I'm saying? I really don't want to get into this kind of stuff, but like I'm not going to let nobody unalive me over a damn CD. No, that was the first and only time that I was really, really, really contemplating on, you know what I'm saying? Like I was really, really serious contemplating because this is an older dude. You supposed to have a little bit of patience and understanding. You 12 to 14 years older than us. I'm talking in reason and rationale. Like, man, I'll get you right. I'll right my wrong. Man, no, I'm gonna catch y'all somewhere. Don't worry about it. What? I said, okay, we ain't no understanding with this dude. Ain't no understanding with this dude, you know what I'm saying? And so that's like, but that's what happened. That's what happened, y'all. But anyway, I'll keep going. Damn, I'm sweating. I'll keep going.
Sent to Iowa, since I can't control myself, dumbass teen class, and never teaches about no
dumbass teen class. I still talk to my homies about 9th grade team. Dumbass team class ain't never teach us about no wealth. We didn't learn shit in 9th grade team. That was a waste.
It never teaches about no wealth. I thought I got the day, y'all. I was working in the warehouse. Pops worked me for 16 hours. Then he dropped me off.
So my dad worked me for 16 hours and then he just dropped me off.
Enemy close. I gotta get some distance, and they make up stories when they don't handle their business. No circumstance.
So I said, keep your enemies close, and they make up stories when they don't handle their business. So basically what that was me relaying to, there's a lot of layers. There's probably 50 stories in this one song where you're like, okay, what is he talking about? That kind of speaks to people that I held to a high regard, that homies of mine, that it might have been a deal that we had agreed to or whatever the case may be, and they might have owed me some bread, or it might have been a situation. These are like personal things, and niggas will just make stories up to avoid being responsible. Excuses and stories and stuff like that. And so, you know, I said, so guess what?
Handle their business, no circumstance. Should grown men act like your bitches? Either you come to terms or don't leave me as a witness.
So what that said was, they don't handle, you know, there's no reason for grown men to act like some bitches. Basically, speak your piece and deal with the situation at hand. Either you come to terms with that or don't leave me as a witness. So basically what I was saying was pretty much that, you know, and that was kind of double-sided with that situation too. There was other little situations, I won't get into it, but basically my thing is there were situations where there was false statements that I felt that close homies I had that made against me, or either, even with that situation with that one dude, oh, you did me wrong, you did this to me, or whatever like that. I was like, well, either you come to terms with the truth, or don't leave me as a witness. I meant that. Either you come to terms with the facts. You don't get to change the truth just because you don't want to pay a nigga back or do the right thing. But if you want to just go ahead and go with the lie, then don't leave me as a witness. That's how I seen it. Like, if this is what you want to do, this is how you want to play it. Well, go ahead and do what you need to do. That's how I was feeling. Well, you know, I'm just gonna keep up this lie, or I'm gonna say that this happened, and it, okay, well then go ahead and end me then, because you're talking like that's what you want to do, then just go ahead and do it. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not gonna, I would never say that I'm gonna do something to somebody and then not do it. You know, that's not something I would do. I don't threaten people. I don't think I've ever threatened anybody. I don't think I've ever said that I was going to do something to somebody and not do it. And I never said that I would do something to somebody just to say it. Oh, I'm going to do this to you, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. I never had no reason to. If I was going to do something, I just did it. You know, like I said, man, I'm going to hit you. I just sock you. You know what I'm saying? So, I knew that when you say certain words like I'm a K you, or I'm a do that, that's serious. That's why I said, when that guy said that to me over the phone, I took it serious, because there's no reason for you to say that to me if I'm trying to fix this issue or whatever like that. And that's why I said, well, you know, let's go get the salt. Let's go get the halt. Let's go get the pump. I'll put that salt off pump in my backpack. I was dead serious. I was dead serious. And like I said, I was young. It was probably dumb to think about that, but I was dead serious. I was for real gonna go get that shit and come back down on Nicolette. Yeah. That's how, that was my mindset at the time. That's what I was thinking. You know what I'm saying? And of course, that wasn't the smart thing to do. But what else was I supposed to do? The only other thing that I could have done that would have made perfect sense was to not go back out there no more. Take my backpack and my mixtapes and leave it in my room at the house, and go and get me a warehouse job or something like that, and completely leave all of it alone. That's what you do when you're trying. I'm saying when you say you're done, you're done. You don't deal with any of that stuff. Now you're not going. You 9 times out of 10, you're not going to run into these type of characters. That would have been my best option at that time. But with this dude still walking around with a threat on me and my homie, based on the fact that his broke ass CD player didn't work, that's the only option I thought I had. Because I'm not used to the shoot 'em up bang bang. I was used to, if there's if I have to fight, I fight. So I was never used to shooting. I never had owned a weapon at that time. I didn't talk about owning a weapon at that time. I didn't have an interest in owning a weapon at that time. But once somebody talked about inflicting a weapon on me, I said, okay, you got one, let me go get it. I wouldn't probably even known how to load it up or whatever like that. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to learn. But it wouldn't have been good. And I knew that. I knew that too. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to continue hustling, this dude may have to get up out of here. Or I gotta at least present it as a way where he's thinking like we ain't playing. At the very least. You see what I'm saying? Like, but that, like I said, that's never been my forte. I used to be disappointed when dudes automatically went to talk about shooting and, oh, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna unalive him and all, and I don't fight. I'm like, to me, they sounded like a bunch of broads. What you mean you don't fight? We grew up fighting in the sandbox. You can't take a little ass whooping and just going about your business? That's how I used to always look at dudes. And I'd be extra disappointed because the most toughest dudes, they couldn't do it. So I used to always wonder, like, well, damn, bro, like, what are you going to do when you get caught? You're going to jail at some point in time, man. I ain't going to jail. Ain't going to catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. You gingerbread ass peanut head nigga. You going to get caught.
Said you got a cold hustle.
Okay, so check this out.
Don't leave me as a witness. This El Rooker nigga said you got a cold hustle. Dropping movies off of East St. Paul by the bundle. Told me.
So I met this one dude. He was an older cat. He said he was an El Rookin. Now, I'm not going to explain what that is. I won't explain what that is. But he was like, man, you got a cold ass hustle. He was an older cat. There's a whole lot more to this story. That I'm not gonna put online. The only way that I would discuss it is like if I had a close homie or something like that. And it's not nothing criminal, nefarious or whatever, but not everything has to go online. I guess I'm telling exactly what I said and clarifying what I said and what I meant. But this dude, he was okay, I'll say this much. One of my homies, he used to sell the mixtapes and stuff like that. He used to come and re-up with me and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna get into detail about him because I don't like talking online about bro, really. You know what I'm saying? That's like a sacred thing for me. I really don't like talking about him, unless I'm talking to like close homies and stuff. I just don't like doing it. You know what I'm saying? Because I start feeling like I'm clout chasing or something like that. And I'm not clout chasing by any stretch of the imagination, because half of y'all listening, you don't even know who these people are. They could be make-believe for all we know. But I don't like talking about my brother online that much. I may make little segment markers about something that happened so I could get into the next story. So, I want to be respectful of that. But he was in St. Paul making it happen. And he wasn't doing the mixtape thing. Like I said, to him, it was just a quick flip. So he put me on as a referral. This wasn't a customer of mine. He put me on, this L Rooker nigga. He put me on, this nigga from Chicago. He put me on as a referral. So he was an old school cat, not real old, but you could tell he did some time. He was telling me about Stillwater and stuff, and he was talking about how, like, you know, some dudes wasn't mad because he said he wasn't on count. If y'all know that term, you know what I'm saying? He, you know, so it's crazy. The terms and the definitions and the terminology that I just came across, you're like, well, damn, how does this nigga know all this shit? Because I was a listener, I was a study of people. So I remember the terms and the things they said, like, man, they mad because I ain't on count. I said, oh, okay. So now he's telling me all these different things, and there's another little story segment that I was going to break down. So this might go for 2 hours. This might be a long one for y'all. So, he was talking about how, like, he moved over to, so he was in St. Paul, kind of like, I think on the east side. I don't even remember what, but I think it was kind of on the east side. And there was a lot of hills over there. I wish I knew the address. So now he was on parole, and he always want mixtapes and smack DVDs and CDs and all that kind of stuff. Real cool dude. So I used to always go to where he was at and meet him, because he didn't really, he had met, I think my homie had met him somewhere on University over there by that Foot Locker that used to be right on Snelling University. That spot was jumping for us. We stopped going to South Minneapolis at one point, and we started going over to St. Paul. I don't remember what year that was, but I might find that out going down. And we're almost 2 minutes. We got two more minutes for me to break this down. So now, he refers me. He's buying CDs and stuff like that. He told me about a little story where he had met some chick that he was kicking it with, and he brought her to like Inver Grove Heights, because, you know, the east side, then you got the west side, and then Inver Grove Heights is even farther. He brought her to Inver Grove Heights to the theater, and he was talking about how the police was sweating him, or security guard. There was some police there that was sweating him that didn't want him to go in the theater. They bought tickets and everything. So it was giving him a hard time. And I said, there's a lot of race soldiers out there. So I didn't really know about Inver Grove Heights at that time. Remember, I'm on the bus. So now I got to do a St. Paul story too, because St. Paul used to crack. We didn't even know. St. Paul used to crack, especially the bras. Some badass little bras up in there. And they seemed like they had a little more sense than Minneapolis. I'm just saying it. They seemed like they were a little more laid back. I didn't really feel like it was a bunch of backdoor. They feel like they were a little more civilized in Minneapolis. Yeah, Minneapolis gonna get mad when I say that. They seemed like they were more civilized. I ain't never feel like they was gonna cut my throat. Never. I ain't never feel like they was gonna cut my throat or nothing. So now I'm going out to St. Paul. I'm hopping on the 16. The 21 could bring you all the way downtown, but that's going to transfer. So I'm hopping on the 16. 16 brings you all the way to this. Did the 16? I usually didn't take the 16 all the way. Well, let me think. When I came from over south, I would take the 21 and get off on like 5th in Minnesota or something. And then I transfer like to the 64s and all that. But that was like a whole nother world. That was a whole nother world for me and stuff like that. I did notice that when my favorite color was red. So I'd have my red Dickies, and then I have the black Dickies. And then I have them Jordans sometimes. Stack Doe sold me a pair of them J's from like 93 J's. So St. Paul dudes used to kind of look sometimes, and I think there was like a lot of blue rags out there and GDs. So they used to kind of look and be like, what's up with this dude? Why are you wearing all that? And so I didn't think too much of it because I didn't know the landscape of St. Paul. I really didn't. You know what I'm saying? But I could kind of tell because when I was on the 16, but then it threw people off because I had a backpack. So they're like, man, this man must got a blammer in the backpack. That's a lot of people used to think I used to keep pipes in that backpack. That's probably one of the reasons why I was able to kind of move around without people assuming, because they never knew. Because it looks like I got something in that backpack with them CDs. But they would be like, a dude asked me one time, what is you or something like that? And he kept asking me about, and I said, I ain't this, I ain't that, I ain't that. And he was like, man, you something. But I guess he was just overly curious. Now I could have told him to mind his own damn business, but I'm not claiming anything. So I'm just like, no, You know what I'm saying? So I think StreamYard gets cut off for a second, but so now uh this might take some of my storage. I may have to delete some of these. But so now uh yeah, I'm going out to St. Paul and whatnot and doing my thing. And that dude spent with me for a minute. And I think I think he violated parole or something like that. But no, that dude, um, he spent a lot of money with me out there, man. So we'll continue. But he said, you got a cold ass hustle. You know what it was? He was on parole, but he was still serving. You see what I'm saying? He didn't have I think he was trying to get a regular job, but he was still serving and I think on house arrest and stuff. So I think he got back in there and eventually he got back out. So
Never to sell dope, you can still ride spokes, chop a couple blades without chopping no rocks though.
So he basically said you got a cold ass hustle because he didn't know how to do the technical stuff in the CDs and all. That's why he was buying it from me. So he's like, bro, he said, man, you got a cold ass hustle, man. You got a cold ass hustle. And he was like, man, don't never sell no dope, bro. And I don't know how old I was, but he was like, man, no, don't never sell this shit, bro. Don't never sell. And I was kind of like, well, man, why don't you? He said, man, it's too late for me. You know what I'm saying? He was like, man, it's too late for me. And I could kind of tell he wasn't the kind of dude that would really spend a bunch of time. He looked like he might do something with a trade, but he ain't really gonna spend too much time messing with no computer. You know what I'm saying? So that's what that was with the El Rookin dude.
Girl got popped on Portland, we're walking the block though.
All right,
without
now.
chopping no rocks though. This girl got popped on Portland, we're walking the block though.
This girl got popped on Portland, we're rocking the block though. When walking the block though.
Bloods and the stones having issues,
okay.
So you can still ride spokes, chop a couple blades without chopping no rocks though. This girl got popped on Portland, we're walking the block though. The Bloods and the Stones having issues, so stay home.
This girl got popped on Portland for walking the block though. The Bloods and the Stones having issues, so stay home. That's what she told me. I was seeing this girl on Portland and she said the Bloods and the Stones having issues, so stay home. Because I was going to go over her house one time. That ain't me talking. She said that. So if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying?
Night on 38, almost got my face blown. Approach me down the block. Why you got the wrong color? Relative, who you know around here, and why your shirt blue? Shit is more around here.
That was a time they said, relative, who you know around here, and why your shirt blue? Who you know around here? I was leaving my homie's house. You know what I'm saying? Late at night, and I was supposed to meet. Right across the street from Smoking the Pit. I was supposed to go in this apartment building because I sold some CDs to this older Chicago chick. She was kind of older, and I sold her some CDs on Nicollet. And then she gave me her number, and she said, "I'm about to call you." And she was probably maybe like 10 years older than me, maybe 12. But like I told you, like, Chicago women, man, when they see something they like, they ain't hiding nothing. They like, she said, I'm about to call you. So, and I could tell by the way she said it, like, I'm not calling you for no CDs. I'm trying to see you. You know what I'm saying? I like you. So I quickly obliged. You know what I'm saying? So she told me where she stayed. It was on 36th in Chicago or 37th or something. And I didn't really go over there to meet too many women. So that wasn't really my place. That's right on Chicago. Like, that's right, So, but, what I was supposed to do, and I had a blue shirt on. I was supposed to walk down to Lake Street, hop on the 21, then on Chicago and Lake, hop on the 5, and then get off. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to walk up to 35th, 36th, or 37th from Clinton all the way to 36th, 37th, and then walk past Park, Portland, Third. I want to take a shortcut. And my homie told me, don't do that, bro. Don't do it. He told me like 3 times, don't do it, bro. Walk down to to walk down to the 21 and just hop on the 21. I said, man, can't I just walk up the block? It was only like a 5-minute walk. I learned my lesson. I'm walking down, and it was late, but they seen that blue shirt. So niggas approached me, and some niggas was like sitting on porches and stuff too. Relative, hey relative, why you got that blue on? Like, you know, so they was kind of, and I just kind of kept walking, and I kept trying to ignore them and stuff like that, to the point where it just got, you know, and so I kind of had to explain myself, man. I'm coming from, you know, over here and stuff. And they were like, okay, well, we kind of know. So then maybe they might have known somebody over there, but no, they pressed me real hard. And I was just like, man, fuck, man. Why didn't I just listen to this nigga? Because I didn't want to walk back down to Lake. It was only 3 blocks to walk to Lake and wait on the 21. I didn't want to wait. I didn't want to wait on the 21 and then take the 21 to the 5. I would have been better off taking the 21 to the 5 and walking up Chicago. I would have been, because there's not a lot going on in Chicago Avenue, just walking up to 36. But I walked through the hoods. I walked through all the Park, 3rd, all of that. I walked all the way through with a blue ass, and see now there's lights, so he gets a blue ass shirt. Why I do that? So that was the only time that I had an issue far as a shirt. You see what I'm saying? The color of my shirt by myself. I wasn't with nobody that was from the neighborhood at the time. I'm just kind of just walking along and stuff like that, trying to get, you know, so now I'm trying to justify, you know, well, yeah, who are you and all this? I mean, they had questions up the yin yang, and this was late. This wasn't in the dirt in the daytime. This was late. This was late, bro. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they could have did anything to me and would have been justified. I knew better. I knew better than to do that, but I just didn't want to wait. I just want to hurry up and get over there on Chicago. So, you know.
Relative, who you know around here, and why your shirt blue? Shit is roll around here. You gotta plug them with somebody when you come around here. I ain't affiliated. I know some hoes around
so
here.
I said, I ain't affiliated. I know some hoes around here. So, you know, they probably figure, well, you know, and a lot of times dudes could tell. They know who the enemy is. So, you know, like when dudes kind of approach me and all of that, and they kind of, you know, they're like, I pleaded my case. I said, hey man, I'm trying to holler some chick over here. And, you know, they didn't touch me or run my pockets or, hey, you know, they didn't do none of that. They just kind of they just let me go, you know, and they basically said, man, you need to kind of, you know, you just walking willy-nilly, man. We got enemies, you know what I'm saying? So they did let me know that. And I said, okay, you know, but it's not like I didn't know. And as you can see in this picture, you see my face again. There's South High again. And when I made this video, I did not know the history about South High and the riots and why they made it look like a damn prison. I didn't know that at that time. Okay, so let me keep going.
Luckily, they let me pass. I should have known better. I was warned sternly before I put on that sweater.
I was warned sternly before I put on that sweater.
Oh man, ask me, how do you survive as a...
So I was in Burnsville. Remember, I was working the Burnsville job, and my Tahoe broke down. And I used to take this bus to the Mall of America, and from the Mall of America, I used to take the. Let me see. I think the 21 brought me to the 180. Yep. Yeah, it did, because I remember I used to take the 21 to the 180, and then I used to get off from the 180. I think I used to jump. Now this was in around 2008. I used to take the 180, and I used to get off from the 180. I think I jumped on a Burnsville bus because at one point in time I was dealing with this, you know, I was hollering at this girl from Baltimore. Nothing really materialized. I ain't even knock her, but we kind of hung out for a little bit, and she was having this issue because I ain't had no car. At that time, I didn't have no car. This was right. I was working at, you know, off of 4th at the nonprofit in 2008, but I didn't have, or 2007, but I didn't have no car. You know what I'm saying? I think I met her off the space or the planet, not the planet, but I think I met her off the space or something like that. So, but she had this issue because she was dealing with all these niggas that probably get, she dealt with some dudes where she felt like I'm tired of picking niggas up and stuff like that. So I said, no, you ain't got to pick me up, but I ain't driving. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not asking you for no money or whatever. But then when she kind of got around me and seen like, okay, he's self-sufficient, he just ain't got no car, but she ain't want to pick me up. And I said, okay, well, look, let me, I'll hop on the 21 because I stayed on Minnehaha. I hop on the 21. I'll jump on the Mall of America bus, the 180, and I'll jump. I don't think she met me at the Mall of America. I think I hopped on like another Burnsville bus and jumped on that bus, and it was like a bus station, and she picked me up at the bus station. So I did that like a few times. You see what I'm saying? I went over her house. You know what I'm saying? I spent the night, and my allergies were, I remember my allergies were so messed up, and I said, man, ain't nothing going on. Like, and she was kind of like offended, like, man, you still could have. I'm like, man, I'm walking around here like Snuffleupagus.
Me the power, I beg of you.
I'm walking around like Snuffleupagus. Ain't nothing going on. I was just, so anyway, yeah, so Burnsville, when I was working in Burnsville, there was a Burnsville bus that I used to take to the Mall of America. Once I get to the Mall of America, I could hop on, I think the 5. Usually it'd be the 180. I think it'd be the 180, get off the 180, go down them little concrete steps right over there by, you know what I'm saying, McDonald's and Taco Bell. Y'all remember that? And then I just hop on the 21 and just go home. You know what I'm saying? I had to do that for a while when my Tahoe broke down when I was working out there in Burnsville. You know what I'm saying? I did that. I did that for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, that the white dude asked me one time. He said, "Man, how do you survive in America as a black man?" And so I was telling him, like, this is what he asked. He said,
Better, I was warned sternly before I put on that sweater. Old man asked me, how do you survive as a black man in the city? Your gangs, racism, odds stack, damn.
So, and then you hear that punch in where I said, odds stack, damn. And then I started rhyming again. That was a punch in. That wasn't me saying damn. And then me rapping off the side. I punched in right there because I wanted that little Beanie Siegel state property feel. You see what I'm saying? So, he asked me, how do you survive as a black man in a city of gangs, racism, odds stacked? And then I said, damn, I threw that in there myself. But he asked me, I was at a bus stop and a white man, he was an old white man, and he asked me, he said, man, how do you survive in a city of racism, gangs, and odds stacked? And I basically told him this was my response.
As a black man in the city, your gangs real. I ain't affiliated. I know some hoes around here reluctantly they let me pass. I should have known better. I was warned sternly before I put on that sweater. Old man asked me, how do you survive as a black man in the city? Your gangs, racism, odds stack, damn. I calmly responded, mama ain't raised a fool. When they asked me to join, I respectfully refused.
So I was basically telling him when he mentioned the gangs is a code word for black. And I always talk to my homie Solomon about that. Like, that's a term that really means black. When it's Black Lives Matter, woke, that means black. There's more white gangs probably than anything. Gangs in New York, we weren't able to just shoot it out like Al Capone and not go to jail. Black folks couldn't get paid the judge and the DA. That's why they came over RICOs. They didn't come over RICOs for us. These white folks was just doing heinous crimes in the middle of the damn street. The issue with the gangs with black folks is it's affecting us directly. When you have Tynesha Edwards get blown away, you see what I'm saying? When you have the situation over north where the little girl got killed and she was jumping, you know what I'm saying? You have these stray bullets, and you have stuff that affects where niggas don't come and get their man. You see what I'm saying? Like, when that guy said that about me, talking about, well, I'm gonna do this to you because your CD was blank when I catch y'all and all that, this wasn't gonna be no drive-by. That's how I was thinking. This ain't gonna be no, hey man, go get a Chevy Caprice, and then I'm just gonna slide up on him. And no, I was gonna come and I was gonna take him off the earth. What was it gonna be? No, I'm going to get my man. You, no bystanders, no kids or whatever. You threatened me. You said you're gonna take my life. I'm taking you. Yeah. But when you start having, well, man, I'm just firing random and I'm trying to catch the ops at their house or whatever, you ain't trying to get your man. There's other people that are involved in that neighborhood. There's other people that are playing, like the girl was playing on her backyard over north. You ain't trying to get your man. You get firing at a random house. You's a coward. You see what I'm saying? That's our problem. That's our issue when we dealing like that. Random stray bullets and all that. Man, please, you supposed to get your man. You supposed to pull up on him and take him off the face of the earth. Ain't supposed to be no bystanders. Ain't supposed to be no women and children, right? Ain't that the code of the street? Nobody's abiding by that. They don't care. So, when it comes to gangs, like the white dude, when he said gangs, I told him, I said, if they asked me to join, I respectfully refuse. So what I was doing was I was kind of letting them know that ain't nobody forcing me into doing anything. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's forcing me to do anything. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go as far to say something folks ain't gonna like this. Ain't nobody forcing you to join no gang in Minnesota, man. You don't have to. You can want to, or you could join because, maybe there was some money involved. Some dudes get joined on a cord of, well, being associated with this dude. He happens to be he's in a gang, but he has dope and he has a plug. So yeah, I'll join because I want some money. You see what I'm saying? I didn't need no money from no niggas. I could create my own money. It may not be much, but it's mine. So I never felt the need to do that. Or it could have been a situation where a kid's getting bullied all the time, and it's some other gang members is beating them up and bullying them and pushing them around, and he starts fighting back and beating their ass, and then they get mad and they say, well, you beat me up, man, so when we catch you, we gonna shoot you. And then after a while, just like how my situation, somebody keeps threatening you or doing little crazy stuff, and you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna shoot your ass back. And before you know it, you're into it with a group of people that's saying they're in a gang, and it's a violent situation. So their rivals, you like, well, shit, they rivals is my friends. At this point, your enemies, your enemies, could be an ally to me. It could work out like that sometimes, but a lot of times you just get a school kid like me, and they're minding their own business. They trying to go to school to learn and all that. And you got these gangbanging ass niggas is bothering you and doing stuff like that. You might knock out one of these niggas or beat them up. And then they like, man, we gonna jump you. And then now you steady going at it with these dudes. And their enemies is like, oh, well, shit, this nigga's a rider. There you go right there. And then it might get into weapons and stuff like that. That happens all the time across America. So when you look at the term gang, that's just a loose sentence, because you could get three people and say they're in a gang. Oh, well, we the peanut butter and jelly boys. Well, the peanut butter and jelly boys might sell some weed. Then they get threatened by some other dudes saying, man, you ain't supposed to be on my block. So they pistol whipping one day. Well, yeah, you pistol whip one of my homeboys, and now we gonna come back and beat your ass. And then somebody gets shot, and then another person gets shot, and then we go back and forth. That's gangbanging now. Simple as that. So I was letting that white dude know that I in terms of gangs and stuff, I didn't have no problem with nobody talking about coming up to me talking about, well, you need to be in a gang. I'm forcing you to be in a gang, and then I never had that. I don't ever remember any. Like I told you, I don't remember any of my friends that might have been remotely connected to any affiliation where there was a gang meeting and they're all getting together. It's not like LA or Chicago here. Niggas ain't that organized. You got some niggas that just be throwing up some sets and fucking some hoes and riding in a Chevy Caprice and using gang terminology. And niggas ain't organized like that. Maybe in like the 80s or the mid 90s or something, but man, nah, man, ain't nobody doing all that. There ain't no long list of rules where they tell you don't shoot kids and don't shoot women and all that. Ain't nobody doing all that. You got a group of niggas that, you know, because like I say, a lot of times when I had issues with people, with other brothers that might have been in a so-called gang, the only time that I had a major issue was when there was with a hyena group. I never had nobody by himself pull up on me and press me by himself about maybe was I with a gang or whatever. Somebody might have asked questions like, are you this or you that? Just on some cool shit like, you know, we ain't tripping. We just, you know, it's a friendly member conversation. No, I don't gangbang. I don't do none of that. And some of them were so puzzled by like, you're a young black male and you don't gangbang. You're not in the gang. A lot of people would be surprised because in their mind, for you to be black, you got to be in a fucking gang. You see what I'm saying? That was offensive to me, but I'm like, okay, I'm dealing with a bonehead. So, you know, whatever. I'm like, no, I'm not in this or whatever. So I have had that situation. So with that white dude, I'm letting him know this gang issue, that's a media phrase. Ain't no gang members bothering me like that. I'm not walking around Minneapolis afraid. Hey man, are you in a gang? And man, if you ain't in a gang, we gonna knock you upside the head. I wasn't really worried about that. No, I didn't have nobody in a gang pressing me about why I'm not in a gang. So that's why I told him. It's a long story, but if somebody asked me to join, I respectfully refuse. And the white dude's like, oh, okay, so you could just say no. Dare to keep off drugs, nigga. You know what I'm saying? He's watching the news.
And in the city, your gangs, racism, odd stack, damn. I calmly responded, mama ain't raised a fool. When they asked me to join, I respectfully refused. Mama said it's genocide and she would not approve.
Mama said it's genocide and she would not approve. I already knew that. That's how she looked at it. It's genocide and she would not approve. My mother wasn't happy with black folks shooting each other. She knew that we ain't supposed to be doing that to each other. Simple.
Calmly responded, mama ain't raised a fool. When they asked me to join, I respectfully refused. Mama said it's genocide and she would not approve. The mind we possess can be a weapon or a tool.
The mind we possess could be a weapon or a tool.
Watch my homie chopping blades, I wanted to make some moves.
I watched my homie chopping blades, I wanted to make some moves.
Down the cutie on late, dime bags blades, I wanted to make some moves. Broke down the cutie on late, dime bags, get it moving.
Broke down the cutie on lake, dime bags, get it moving. That kind of goes without saying.
Pushing gristle ain't cut it, and I need a new hustle. Start the IT program.
Pushing gristle ain't cut it, and I need a new hustle. Start the IT program. You see what I'm saying?
It was a struggle, gas over beef buddy contract.
Gas over beef buddy. So what I'm telling y'all, when I'm kind of doing a little bit of nickel and dime, that's why I was saying, when I was saying I had multiple revenues, I don't like the idea of promoting that, well, I'm out here trapping. You see what I'm saying? That wasn't my idea of survival and paying my rent. And you know what? We need to have a real conversation about this in America, Black America, of the trap niggas. Shout out to Simba Ali, damn it. We need to have a real conversation about that. The trap nigga era is over. This is like a Kia Boy, Dodge Charger, carjack, fentanyl era. You know what I'm saying? Like the day of trapping and all that, I don't know what these niggas be doing, because if they got to steal cars, they ain't making no money. When we were coming up, we knew how to turn $1 into $2 to a certain degree. I didn't fall into the allure of, I didn't put it like this. I didn't I love Trapper Die Gangsta Grills. Let's stop acting like that wasn't one of the most classic albums. And I don't know. Okay, I'll say this, man. Did it confuse a lot of niggas? Maybe. Where they're like, well, man, I could be like Jeezy too. Well, you're probably not. That nigga probably had money before rap. You just listened to it. But I never really listened to the stuff and said, well, I want to fit the certain bill, so I'm willing to throw it all on the line and just throw it all away. I never got to the point where I'm sitting here listening to this music and being influenced to the point where I'm going to participate in trying to sit and sell drugs and try to obtain plugs and stuff like that, so I can ride like how my homies is riding and above. I always had that level of saying, well, yeah, I sure, man, I see niggas with nice rides and hoes and all. I mean, they living it up. But I knew that I was going to go to jail. I knew 98%. I know I'm going to prison. I know I am, because if I get caught, I'm going to be the one taking all the charges. I can't see myself on the stand pointing niggas out. If I get involved in this, I'm going to be the moral high. I'm going to take the moral high road, and I'm going to be the one taking all the charge for things while niggas is out here telling. Not saying that my homies is telling, but you're going to be dealing with all kinds of different stuff. So I wasn't interested in trying to get into major drug trade. That wasn't something I was interested in doing. And I never did. So I just got to get roasted and just ride in this beat up ass Buick to just pay my bills and just get by until I get the skill set to start building what I was trying to get, the IT program. It was a struggle, gas or beef buttock. I had to choose a lot of days what I was going to put in my car. Was I going to get some beef buddy and some wheat bread at Cub, or was I going to get gas? Because I wasn't going to allow Trapper Die to get me trying to find a plug that could get me 30 years. So you tell him like the license man. I wasn't going to do that. It wasn't worth it to me. So I'm just going to have to suffer. I'm just going to have to be the lowly computer nerd nigga that, here's the thing, man. I didn't really hold it against niggas when I wasn't oblivious to the fact that, now I don't know if my homies looked at me that way, and it really didn't bother me too much after a while, but I know that there's levels. I know that when people start reaching certain levels of money and they start reaching to certain levels of status and stuff like that, I know that I was kind of towards the lower totem pole of pulling in revenue in terms of that, but I didn't really try to base myself off of what that person's making. So I never really had a situation where I felt like I was in competition amongst my homies. I felt like I was behind far as me getting my license and driving and stuff like that, but I didn't really feel like I have to match up to what they're doing, because I know most of them were already making more money than me. But some of them were catching charges more than me. Some of them were getting into it with the law and getting into all kind of little, you know what I'm saying? So some of them, even though they were making more money in the long run, I wasn't somebody that was really getting involved in the law. You see what I'm saying? I wasn't really worried about lawyers and having to fight cases and stuff like that. So it was going to take me a little longer to do the little things like, I want to chop blades. I want to ride in Bromes and Caprices. I want to have the 212s in the back. I wanted the gold chain. I wanted all that shit. I did. I really did. But it's going to take me a little longer to get it. And by the time I got the money to do it, I didn't even want the shit no more. I just wanted the blades. I just wanted the blades and the time machine. I didn't want the gold chain no more. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. I really didn't want that. I didn't really want the jewelry and stuff like that. And when I got enough money to where I'm working legit, and I had, I've been considerably legit. Like, I bought me a fucking fur coat. I bought me a damn fur coat, man. That shit cost some bread. I still got it. And I purposely took those pictures in the studio, and folks respected it. It wasn't to shine and shit on nobody, but it's kind of like, okay, I made it. I'm buying some of the things that I want. It's not for me trying to be ahead of y'all trying to look vain, but I just want to look good for me. You know what I'm saying? So like, I noticed when, I started acquiring some of the things I wanted, I've acquired and I got these things through the mud, legit, paying taxes, doing what I was supposed to have been doing. It took a little longer, but when I got it, not only did I appreciate it, but these things didn't mean as much. Like, okay, if I'm a dude that was selling dope, why are you getting these things? Because you're trying to attract other dealers and other customers. That's the point, right? You're not just doing it for the hoes. You doing it because you want other dudes to spend with me. Hey man, look at these blades. Man, look at this fur. Look at these chains. Look at this watch. That's supposed to bring you customers. So when other dudes be like, well, damn, man, bro, man, how you doing all that? I'm serving out here. She shop with me. You gonna have that shit soon too. That's the ideology, right? You're not just doing it just to attract police. I hope not. You know what I'm saying? So like, I was able to acquire some of the things that I had always, always wanted. When I seen some of my homies, or I seen dudes riding around in the city, I'd be like, man, I kind of want to have something not like that. I wasn't looking at them like, man, why they got that, man, or whatever. I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it like, well, they riding clean. That's cool. Now, I got this thing. I got these mixtapes. I got these t-shirts and these socks, and I got this computer repair. That's my lane. Kilos ain't my lane. Pounds and pounds of weed ain't my lane. If I ran across something, if I ran across like some greenery or something like that, somebody might have, man, hey man, I owe you $500. Here goes a cutie. Well, just give it to me. Pop it off. I don't want it. I'm not trying to keep flipping to green to green to green. If I ran into something, okay, I grab me a little ounce and I smoke and I have something to myself, and then I call up my homies, man, take this off my hands. I don't want that shit. I don't want it. I throw it in the refrigerator or something like that. I throw it in the refrigerator so it don't mess up, stink up my house. Hey man, I call my homie. Hey man, you need this? Man, yeah, hell yeah, I could pop that off. Man, come get this. That was I'm not trying to drug deal. Because here's the thing. You can get a pound. I could sell 4 desktops. You see what I'm saying? I could sell 4 desktops. I could do a password reset for $50. I could wipe your hard drive for $100. I could do that 4 times in a week, and I could sell 3 to 4 desktops, and I could sell a couple laptops. That's 3 racks. So with no police, none, not one cop involved. Nobody trying to backdoor me. Hey man, ain't nobody breaking in my house trying to steal no computers. It is completely it's legit as it can. So, that's how I started to look at things. So, but I know that now when people start kind of seeing like, damn, this dude got a shop now, because I remember them same dudes, man, y'all got backpacks. They really didn't know what we were doing. They didn't see what my vision was. So now when they see like, damn, bro, you got a shop. How much you paying? $3,000 a month? I'm paying about $1,200 a month, but I ain't gonna tell you that. You ain't gonna get no commercial lease anyway. But now they're like, well, damn, these niggas got a shop. That's inspiring to some dudes. Like, man, I used to hear dudes, hey, man, I remember y'all was on the block on Nickel and 38th, and I used to see y'all on Broadway and all that. I'm like, man, I'm glad, man, I'm proud of y'all niggas. That used to feel good when you see another brother that came up from the mud. Now he's got a commercial, because now people thinking like, well, shit, he could do that again. We did it twice. You came up from the mud with a backpack on. Now you know, you're delivering computers. You have your own store. You see what I'm saying? So that's a story. We could actually do a documentary of this shit, man. We could actually do a damn near documentary of this shit. We were young as hell, man. I don't even think we was 25. So this is a long story time, man, but we'll keep going.
Practicing this nothing free, motherfucker. I'ma have me something.
How come you ain't claiming your neighborhood no more?
And then at the end, I had Danny Trujo. He said, how come you ain't claiming your neighborhood anymore? And he was talking about how, like, you claim in a neighborhood where you don't own the property and stuff like that. So that was kind of an extra segment to the white dude that was asking me the questions. Now, what some people would say, well, DP, you're not affiliated and you never have. What right do you have to even speak from this perspective? Why would you even put this on here? You know, you ain't gang, blah, 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 you know, whatever. You ain't died for this and all that, you know. I've seen enough of the nonsense to be able to say, yeah, that audio clip, you know, that kind of works. You see what I'm saying? That audio clip was applicable, what that guy said, because what it all boils down at the end of the day, what are you offering your neighborhood? What are you offering other black people? If you're gonna say that I don't have anything to offer, then this is what you end up like. I want y'all to take a look at this picture here. This is how you end up when you don't have anything to offer your neighborhood. See? This is how you end up when you don't have nothing to offer your neighborhood. That headline right there. That's where you end up. I'm just telling y'all. I wasn't really going to put that on there, but I'm just saying, given the fact that I had to go through the entire song, you know what I'm saying, about what I was talking about and some of the things I experienced, that's, you know, when you don't have anything to really offer black people, that's how you end up. Because I didn't end up that way. You know, I used to try to get black folks jobs and stuff like that, and I didn't have to extort nobody. I didn't have to tell nobody to fucking check in. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, you better check in. You better do this. There's some up-and-coming black folks. There's some up-and-coming black folks that's doing some directing. They want to come and film your Minnehaha one-stop shop on 34th and Minnehaha. Did we tell them to check in? Up and coming, which means these are black folks that's just starting out. You better check in or you're going to get checked out. Did we ever tell somebody something like that? That's how you end up, like that nigga right there. When you don't give a damn about your community, you end up like that. That's you don't end up that way by accident. We ain't talking about like nobody like King and Malcolm and the Panthers. So now, with me playing that audio, Minneapolis, holla at me. With me playing that audio, am I wrong? Does that apply to what that white dude was asking me? How do you survive in racism, gangs, odd stack? Damn. How do you survive in that? I respectfully refuse, sir. You need a desktop? Yeah. So yeah, that's the this was real long, y'all, but this is the D building analysis story time. Um I kind of poured my heart on that song, and that's how it ended up, you know, after my mom passed, that's how I ended up um that's how I ended up. You know, so this is one of the longest story times I had, but it was a heartfelt one. That's how I kind of ended up in this situation. That's how I ended up recording D Building, Welcome to the Woods, Volume 1. And that D Building song was my life in a nutshell. From I'll say, you know, kind of around high school all the way to, you know what I'm saying, like really 2007, 2008. I'll say 2009. From high school to 2009, those are a culmination of maybe a decade of events and different things and statements and conversations of people and all of that kind of stuff. So like I said, I was gonna give it no cut. I still got a couple other stories. I'm gonna start editing this stuff and uploading it for you guys. And if anybody tries to say this was negative or this was not true, do a paperwork check. Do a paperwork check. You know what I'm saying? That's all I got to say is do a paperwork check. My paperwork's straight. Everything I say is on point. You know, now some of the characters that I was talking about that I met or whatever, I mean, you know, you're not gonna be able to look them people up because I don't even got their damn names. So nobody can be harmed whatsoever. Nobody can be harmed. I'm just saying that, you know, like these are the characters that I met, you know, kind of on my way. But now I got to go back and listen to this again because there's certain story times that I want to cover, and I'm wondering. I might need some water. Drinking like a fish. I need some water. Um, there's another story time I think I'm gonna try to do. I mean, I walking with the wrong color on. That was a story time. I already covered that. Shorty and Wags. We talked about that. We talked about my brother, my homie's brother, Lil Ant. That was in another story time. We talked about Radio Shack. We talked about the Cambodian chick. We talked about Poncho, the GAG from the GAG from Gary and GA. I'm trying to think of anything else I want to talk about Poncho. I might bring up another one. He got another story. There's another story where he said some shit that was just outrageous, and he was dead ass serious. He was dead ass serious, but you know, like I never forgot it, but it was funny. So I think I might do one more story time or whatever. Let me give me some more water. But you know, anybody that listens, especially Titan or anybody that's listening, man, that remembers anything that I did or anything that was going on, man, you know, let me know so I could tell the story because these stories need to be told. Um, it's crazy. I feel good about this one, man. But when I first started, I was kind of like, I was just thinking how out of it I was, man. And I think with the D building story time, I think I already got. I'm trying to think if I already got this picture. Otherwise, I had another picture that I was gonna put up on there because I had a picture of me and Jay. We was at my mom's funeral. We never ever took pictures together. And he was like, "Man, let's take a picture, DP. We ain't got no pictures together because I ain't take pictures." And I might put that picture up. I might put that picture up, but you can see my belt buckle, like my pants looked like they was gonna fall off. You know, I looked a hot damn mess because I was out of it. I didn't even really, you know, I don't even know if I looked in the mirror before a funeral. You know what I'm saying? So I think this was as detailed as I got about that year in 2015. 20 late 2014, 2015, really count 2015. But I think I'm gonna do another podcast or a story time talking about what jobs I had around 2015 and what I was doing. So the next one I might do is Boston. I don't know. So we'll see how I'm feeling. But I think I'm gonna try to do a lighter story next. So all right. I'll see y'all in a minute. Love y'all.